So this is, if you can see from here, this is my motor, my electric motor. And I'm going to need to refigure out how to mount this one. Right now I've got the motor up on the top and this pulley system, and I'm going to say by and large it worked okay. The things that I figured out that were very difficult was actually doing the alignment of the shaft. And why do I need to take this out? Number one, I need to change the shaft seal, which is in behind there. I'll be able to actually slide the shaft forward right out so that I can change that cutlass bearing on the skeg, or on the standoff. I can't remember what that's called. There's like a name for that piece. Maybe somebody could put that in the comments because I can't remember. But what I plan on doing is flipping this mount around and trying direct drive. There is so much torque in this motor. It's actually pretty, it's very strong. And I have a 1.92 to 1 ratio, gear ratio with this pulley system, but I probably could do like a 1-to-1 ratio would be direct drive. So there's that bearing right there. I can't remember the name of that type of bearing, but there's basically a bearing that's got two collars on it that holds the shaft in place from moving in or out, so it acts like a thrust bearing. And I'm going to, if I would leave that in place, but then I just need some way to attach the motor on the front. So the shaft sizes are different. The motor's 1 inch, and my shaft right here is 7/8. So I need a 7/8 1-inch coupler, and then basically slide the motor on, and then I need a way for the motor to mount. So the stuffing box down here, that's what that is. So I've got this kind of nut on the front that you loosen or tighten. It's a double nut. So right here, actually, these two right here. So this is a double nut. So basically you loosen or tighten that, and it lets water through, and that's how it lubricates the shaft. I'm going to change that out to a new one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the laser the best I can, and then I've got on here the actual 90-degree angle, and then this is going to help me get this angle straight. What I'm doing is I'm clamping the board to create the stiffness. See, that's not quite right there. This one's good. In the middle, it looks good too. I'm working on this engine alignment, and this took me a long time last time, and it's taken me about 2 hours here of fiddling to get this alignment right. But this is a pretty critical space. So I've got laser level on it, and I've got a line going down the shaft. So you can see in there, it actually follows the middle of the shaft, the middle of the boat. So that's like bang on. And then to get the cross lined up properly, I did a couple things. So in the back here, if you can see that angle iron, that angle iron, or not angle iron, but the angle tool is 90 degrees on, and then you can see that this side here, the wood is 90 degrees, and then this side here, the wood is 90 degrees on the, or sorry, following the same plane as the steel braces. So I've basically managed to get all of the steel in place, and the only thing I'm missing now is to attach this. So I just want to put this in a position where I can drill, and I've got that's definitely bang on. Happy with that. So we'll be back here tomorrow to finish off. So everything's kind of in alignment here. And then I've got this dead center fixed in the shaft tube that exits the boat. So I'm basically just drilling a hole so I can slip it over, get the board mounted on the back here on these plates. So I'm just going to use some of the holes that I had pre-drilled before. So I'm basically going to be cutting a hole in the bottom to shift over. There'll be a bearing on each side, and I'm just trying to get my measurements done here so that I know how much room I have left. And then I have a new plate coming in on Monday, and that's going to be the 1/4 inch thick stiffened aluminum. So it'll be a little bit thinner than this plate. This is like a 1 inch, but I'm going to just try this here first just for sizing, and then I'll cut my plate based on the dimensions of this. Once I'm happy with the way it's all laid out. So I'm going to want to come out to about here, which is right at the 10, starting at 7. And I'm just going to take up 2 millimeters. Alright, that's kind of where it's got to go. Alright, so I'm going to get my level for the top part here. I have a small one, just to make sure that that top is level, and that the hole is square, that the sides are level, and then I'm just going to mark the holes from the inside and drill some holes, and then put a couple bolts in. Oh, it's pretty windy. Yeah, you can really feel the wind blowing through all of the lines and rigging. Anyways, just wrapping up. Going to go grab some bolts before it gets too dark and the store's closed. And yeah, I mean, I got a fair amount of things done. The biggest thing is I got the template roughly cut out. I just got to drill some holes, but once I get the bearing on, it's actually going to be in the right location, right on the back of the board. So then I just have to line it up, make sure everything is as square as I want it to be, and then drill some holes, and then put my my bolts in. So looking forward to it. What I see here, I can turn this with my hand. So it's very straight now. Just an explanation on my thought process here. I wanted, my considerations were I need the shaft centered. So the first thing I did was I put a roll of tape around the propeller shaft, and you'll see it here in a minute. And that little roll of tape is keeping the shaft centered into the shaft tube that extends through the hull. And then that told me exactly where the propeller shaft would need to be in the middle. So then as I measured for my template here that I was putting together, the hole that I drilled has the shaft dead in the center. So once I got my thrust bearing installed, I could actually remove the little white roll of tape that you can see here out, and then have the shaft free floating in the tube. So my second issue that I had was that the distance from the back of the plate to the front of the stuffing box, or the shaft seal, the flexible shaft seal that I'm installing, I needed to know that as well, because there's a thrust bearing and then 2 collars that pinch down on the propeller shaft that hold the shaft in place while there's pressure on it to push the boat forward or in reverse. So I needed to know that distance to make sure that it would fit. And what I had to do was actually I had to cut about a 1/2 inch off of the flexible rubber hose here that I have that the stuffing box is slipping into. So once I cut it down to by about a ½ inch, I was able to slip that second collar in. And then I have a little bit of a ring clip. So I don't want to screw that in yet because it's got the fresh packing. I did this brand new. So the very first time I put it on, it's going to be tough. And I just need to kind of work it and get it down there. So what I want to do is I need the back half of it because it's tapered. So I'll work it in the tapered side and then I'll slide it on. It'll be a lot easier. And then that compresses a little bit. So this will be the most. So as long as I have that, this part of the rubber has to fit inside here, just the way that it was built. This part here, the shaft still spins freely. This part here, this whole copper thing will slide back inside. So I need my heat gun and a number of things to get that to be a little bit more flexible and easier to put on. But it's roughly the same dimensions as this nut here on the top. So when I'm said and done, that'll be all the way in, and then this will screw on a little bit. So this will give me more give than I have here. So I'm hoping that this is enough room. See, there's the black mark for the collar. I wanted to put 2 collars, but it looks like I'm only going to get 1 collar in. So a little bit of a gap here. This is roughly where this collar should go. And then this one, the main bearing, will go here like this. I have to make that a bit shorter, the stuffing box in the back. Basically, all my pieces are touching down below here. So you can see the back bearing, the collar, and the stuffing box are all touching. So I need to take about 1 inch off that stuffing box hose and the inside so that it's a little shorter. Okay, I was just checking this and it's not going to work. I need to cut that thing and make it fit. So the only way to cut it and make it fit is to physically cut it and make it fit. And then I got to take 1 inch off of here. It's a bit crooked anyway, so I'll just cut it straight. That's good. Give it a little sand here. Get rid of any edges. Alright, so it's a little shorter. This should give me about the anticipated room that I need. I'm going to have to work on getting that one to split up over top of that. That's for sure. Okay, progress. Alright, so time to install it. I can't believe I have to go get another battery. Okay, well we're there anyway. I just gotta tighten up those bolts. Carrying on, while I'm waiting for the barrier coat to dry, I'm going to tackle getting the shaft and the motor reconnected. So that's the next step for me. Interesting thing about this prop shaft is that it's got the tapered end here where the propeller blade goes on, and then the cutlass bearing runs right in here. So I should have a little bit of a gap and a little bit of a gap for where the propeller blade is. And then last year I couldn't center this because my cutlass bearing shroud, I think it's called, was not straight. Sorry, the cutlass bearing was not straight. So I'll show you what I had to do there on the outside. So basically, I put 2 bars in here. This thing's solid steel, and I put some bolts through, and then I just basically hauled on it. And how I realized it was out of alignment. Oh, I can't take that out now. But basically, when you spin this by your hand, the propeller shaft, when it's over on the right side, it was easy, and when it was on the left side, I couldn't turn it with my hand very well at all. So now I've got a lot more. It's a lot easier to turn. Like it's the resistance of the propeller in the cutlass bearing is very minimal now. So this is alignment is much better. And this is going to fit in here, and that's as far as it's going to go. And then I'm going to get those clamps, stainless steel clamps, ratcheted in. So I think this is looking to be fine. I do want this dry when the boat goes in the water, mainly so I can see if there's any water coming in. I guess you get to see it pretty fast because it fills up pretty fast. The boat, I guess, displacing the water when it goes in. There's a fair amount of pressure actually, so if you've got a hole in your hull somewhere, it's going to spray in there pretty good. Alright, get my gloves and see if I can wrestle that on there a little better than I did. Basically I'm hitting the, there's a bit of fiberglass on the bottom, so I just can't physically go any more back than that. It's nice and tight. Spins easily. So I'm in the neighborhood, which is good. Alright, so what's next now is the collar. That's this piece, but I'm going to have to go outside because it's tapered. My little trick is to put this through here to push the packing a little bit more wider, and because it's tapered, it makes a good dent to get it on. So I'm going to push that on the tapered end to just make this flared out a little bit, and then I'll come back inside here because it's got to slip on this one easily without getting all mashed up. Just pushed it on so it's a little bit more elongated. Let's see if this works. The only other option is to put it back on the nut and then put the whole thing on as one piece. I'm not able to get this to grab enough threads, so I think I'm gonna have to do that, which kind of sucks. Yeah, so I guess when I put the squished the inside, it pushed it out. So it's not grabbing the threads anymore. Oh! This way. Here, I think I got it. But that's going to be almost impossible to get on here now. So, how do I do that? Dilemmas. I'm not too sure what the procedure is. I'm going to read up on this here right now. So what I ended up doing is making or pre-assembling the whole stuffing box or the shaft seal. I brought it over to the other end of the propeller shaft, which was tapered, and I was able to get it on, and I just kept working it. It took a bit of time to finally get it all the way up the taper, and I was able to get it to move a little bit, and then finally when I brought it back down here to the on the other end, because the other end isn't tapered, it's like a flush cut, but it's still the same size, 7/8. So I actually was able to wiggle it on and finally get it on. I guess we'll see how that goes when I get the motor on that, if it can turn it even. I hope so, because that'll be a new thing. But yeah, look, it's on there. And I read an article, and they suggested that there were 4 grooves that you could see, and on the big nut. So I did get 4 grooves on there, because the last thing you want is this thing to back off. So I'm going to push that on. Okay, it's all the way down. Okay, there we go. So that's that. Next, 2 collars. And I like, alright. So these 2 collars stop the shaft from coming this way, coming up. So these 2 collars are going to hit the bearing here. So I'm going to see how close I am. So this plate here, I've got a bearing that this thing fits on. And that's fantastic. I've got space. That's essentially the installation of that half. And then I have 2 collars, one that will go here and one that will go here, and then I have another sleeve that will fit on the key here. Well, I'm hoping that this gets easier to turn, because that's pretty stiff. We'll see how my motor does with it. I think that when the propeller gets turning, it wears it out pretty fast. So I'll run a couple tests here without the boat in the water, make sure that this thing turns properly. So I've got to get this completed very soon. But I think it's going to be good. So I'm going to call it a day. It's getting close to 8 o'clock. We're going to be locking up the yard, but we made good progress. So tomorrow I also got the barrier coat done on the keel. So tomorrow I'm going to just do the last, the 3rd barrier coat, and then the first anti-foul, and put my through holes in, and I won't have any more holes in my boat. So that's going to be a great thing. I won't be worried about dropping the boat in, and even if my motor doesn't work and I have to work a little bit more on getting this mount done, I will be able to do that without fear of water sinking, coming into the boat and sinking. So, and yeah, it looks like a disaster in here, but one thing at a time.